My Hero Academia, Chapter 216, the final results, Class A versus Class B. So I'll say this was a nice chapter this week. It was clean, it was fine, everything was good. Not really exciting, but, we don't need a banger every week. And these type of chapters, especially the calm after the storm type ones, are totally fine. And I had a good time with this one. So let's get into it. So we're immediately finding out that Class 1A is straight up winning this thing, and in the last chapter review that I did, I was a little unsure at the end there. I know that it was pretty much set in stone that they were winning, but at the time, the dialogue and whatnot made me feel a little unsure about it. I thought maybe like Shinso and Monoma had like one last little trick up their sleeve that they were going to pull out. Just like, because I said the dialogue and the wording, it just made it seem like it wasn't necessarily going to be the end. But aside from that, we're getting some good additional character development to Shinso here. Because, he just wanted to go out there and prove himself. And he just wanted to do so much more than what he actually did. And I can't help but relate to him in this situation. Because we all know that feeling when you go out there, especially when things are on the line and you just want to prove yourself, but it just doesn't wind up going your way. The odds are just kind of stacked against you, regardless of the situation you are in sometimes. And we're seeing that with Shinso here, and he has this inner reflective moment when he's like, man, everyone's just moving forward and they're all just doing so good and I'm just failing here. And I just lost to Izuku twice at this point. But he also has a nice humbling moment as well when he's like, the hero department, they really are amazing. And it's just showing you Shinso is kind of unlikable. I mean, he straight up said, I'm not here to make friends, guys. I'm just trying to prove myself. I'm trying to succeed as a hero. But it's also showing that he is legitimately a good guy and self-aware at that. I mean, maybe even more self-aware than a lot of the students in 1A and 1B. And he's also just as capable and skilled as them as well. I just really like the diversity of characters like Shinso and Monoma as well. That just shows yeah, these guys, they're not evil. They're not bad. They're just unlikable and unruly. But in the end, it doesn't really mean that you have to be this chipper, All Might or an Ashido type of person to be a hero. It's like it comes in all kinds of varieties and colors. They all are working towards the same goal. It just, they get there in different ways. And speaking of Monoma, we're also finding out his hero name in this chapter too, which is the Phantom Thief, which is very cool and very fitting, of course, for Monoma. But to my knowledge, I believe that this information was only available in the data book before this. We're also finding out Yanagi's hero name, which is just Emily, which I'm sure there's a deeper meaning to that. Kodai's, which is rule, and it is spelled with rulers and graphs, which is pretty cool because, of course, it's relating to her size manipulation quirk. And it's, it's short and sweet and somber, just like she is. And I also found out today that Kodai is considered by her classmates to be kudere, similar to tsundere, which is apparently cold, cynical, and blunt. So I guess, very cynical. We don't get much from Kodai. We don't get, much dialogue or moments and whatever. And I know it is fitting to her character not talk and whatnot, but I think there's potential to Kodai, honestly, and I'd like to see more from her. But I don't really think we're going to get much more of it, considering that this was her time to shine, and she didn't really get much of it. Also, she's still straight up stuck to Mineta's balls that Uraraka placed her on in the previous chapter, and she's kind of still struggling with it. I found this to be comical. We're also seeing Shota's hero name, which is Mines, and this, of course, very fitting because his twin impact quirk goes off like a mine. And, unfortunately, we do not get to see what Shinso's hero name is because, he doesn't really get the chance to give himself one because he's not really in the hero course yet. And I was thinking, what would it be? What would be a cool name for Shinso? And I just thought, maybe Control. Just straight up Control would be his hero name. I think that would be cool. Maybe spell it different or something. Or Killgrave or Purple Man. That would be fine as well. I also just want to point out real quick that we get this funny little moment when Midnight is giving her little post-fight wrap-up speech, where we see Jiro and Hagakure holding up this election-style sign where it says, "Stand for impartial reporting. Out with bias. Out with Vlad King." I just literally laughed at this out loud because I just found this to be, a cute little wink that Horikoshi is giving us because we've had this kind of little side struggle dynamic with some members of 1A and Vlad King's like blatantly partisan support that he's been showing 1B throughout this arc. And that brings us to our next comical moment in this chapter, which I also enjoyed a lot, when Aizawa is just straight up like, in any case, Midoriya, what the hell was that? You're talking about his black whips. And then on top of that, we're getting this awesome little sidebar from Tokoyami and Kurohiro when he's like, an enemy mass brought forth from within. It kind of went wild, but you got a name for that? And this is cool because, you know, they're both similar. They're both darkness quirk users. And I like to call them like the goth boy clique of class 1. But we're also seeing in this sequence of what is probably going to happen in the next 1 or 2 chapters, I assume, because when Midoriya is just BSing to everyone about what's going on, I mean, he's kind of like half lying. It's like a white lie, pretty much. But we see All Might and Bakugo reacting to this because we know that they both are aware of what One for All is. So not only All Might is going to have a lot of questions about this, and hopefully we'll be able to give some answers, probably not too much, but also Bakugo is going to be curious about this because we know Bakugo is very interested and invested in One for All, and of course Izuku as well. But I'm really curious to see what Bakugo has to say about this behind the scenes. He's like, so you got more quirks now? Great, now I gotta work even harder to get above you. Another great moment in this chapter that I personally liked was when Ashido is kind of like calling out Uraraka for being a little too handsy with Izuku when she saved him. Also, Ashido's face in this one panel is very funny, but you know, it's like that scary, like when she's like, latched on him pretty hard, didn't you? I know that this whole sequence got kind of a mixed reception. Maybe more didn't like it than more did like it, especially on like the subreddit and whatnot. Because I don't know, apparently Uraraka is not supposed to be like this anymore. I don't think that is the case. I personally like this dynamic, you know, will they, won't they thing between her and Izuku. I really don't care if they wind up being together or not. I just like that they're unsure of it. Clearly they like each other, but they don't really know how to express it. And I don't know, I'm just a fan of this little dynamic because it's not really shoved in our faces. It's just out there. And this is very typical. I mean, it's like this in real life. If you've ever, had a certain special feeling about someone, or they had a certain special feeling about you, and you just didn't really know how to articulate it, so you're kind of just playing this game of limbo with each other. But outside of just the liking, attraction, or the physical attraction that you have to someone, you just honestly both care about each other, and you both want to help each other, and you both want each other to succeed. Just aside from the whole romantic aspect, you're just there for each other. The way that Uraraka was there for Izuku, and as Izuku is there with Uraraka. But there's also, the whole fun, flirty, aspect to it that I think Horikoshi is doing well here. Maybe I'm in the minority. I don't care. I'm a fan. But aside from that, we're also seeing more bonding from Aizawa and Shinso here. And I really liked Aizawa's dialogue in this sequence. When he's responding to the further self-introspection that Shinso has, he's like, look, dude, everything you did is fine. Stop being so hard on yourself. It's okay to just think about yourself. You won't be able to save anyone if you're only thinking of others. Like, we all can't be these outrageous geniuses like All Might. You're eventually going to get there, dude. Everyone has been training hard. You're clearly on the level with everyone else, And then, of course, we're getting the big moment of this chapter when it is confirmed that Shinso will be joining the hero department starting in the second year, which is awesome. I mean, we kind of knew that this was going to happen, but it's just nice to have some confirmation on this, and I'm really looking forward to this. Unfortunately, we don't find out if he's going to 1A or 1B, and honestly, I am really unsure as to where he is going. I'm inclined to think that he's probably going to 1B because that's where they kind of put those foil characters, the pseudo villains. It's just so they don't have to be in the main cast and they can be built up as adversaries later on. Not necessarily just to always go against 1A, but just to be competition for them, to keep pushing them and whatnot. However, we all know that it would or should I say, we all think it would be pretty damn sweet if Shinso was in 1A. But there are some things that could be pointing to Shinso joining 1A in the end. So, of course, he has the dynamic with Aizawa, and Aizawa is the teacher of 1A, so, why not? But also, okay, let us not forget that there is still a traitor out there. And it's very possible that the traitor is in Class 1A. Some of the prime suspects are in 1A. So, just hypothetically, in the off chance that that is true, once the traitor is discovered and they are, of course, booted from 1A, Shinso could be taking their place in the cast, in the class, and just in the story overall. That would be pretty sweet. It would be hard to see one of the Class 1A characters being the traitor because, me personally, I like all of them. I've established somewhat of a bond with all of them, regardless of how much time they've had in the story. I still like all of them. It would really suck to see them just booted from the story, or just booted from the main cast, I'll say. Not necessarily the story overall, but it also would be cool to see Shinso take over that part. But, we will see what happens. But I just don't be, too disappointed if he does wind up joining 1B, because that seems more likely in my opinion, but, we'll see what happens in the end. And then finally, it ends on Monoma saying that he knows something about One for All and how it's going to be able to allow him to develop a counter strategy to it. So, it's really ambiguous what it could be because we don't know exactly what Monoma was thinking when he did take over One for All. But I assume it has something to do with how he didn't have the outrageous power that Izuku had. So I assume he figured out that maybe there is some kind of stockpiler component to it, or maybe it's possible that there are multiple quirks to it and that's why he wasn't able to use it. I'm sure maybe you guys have a better understanding of what is going on here, but I just think it's really ambiguous at this point and can be read into more ways than one. But then we get the big, meaty ending to this chapter, which is awesome. And that is, of course, Aizawa telling Monoma to come to Eri's place tomorrow. And there are so many possibilities to what this could be and where it is going. So, of course, Aizawa wants Monoma to copy Eri's quirk. That is the only reason why he's going there. He doesn't want her to talk to her, or give her a pep talk, or be her friend or anything. This has to do with Monoma's copy quirk. So, what is he going to do with Eri's quirk? Well, I assume that he's going to help them get a better understanding of it, but there's also the possibility that he is going to use the quirk himself for, just to benefit them in some way. And my mind immediately went to, bring Mirio's quirk back. Now, maybe that's not necessarily what is going to happen, but come on, man. I don't know about you, but this is what I immediately thought about. This is what I want. And I hope that this is what you want to, because Mirio, he's just such a great character, and it was really devastating seeing him lose his quirk in the first place. So, if he could come back like this, that would be great. It also kind of taints him losing the quirk at all in the first place, but I guess it was necessary to add to the Chisaki arc, which it did. There was a lot of loss in that arc as much as there was a gain, but, I think he's had his time off. Bring his quirk back, bring him back into the story, especially if this new arc coming up is going to be filled with some powerful villains, I assume, or just powerful adversaries in general. Bring Mirio back with his quirk, bring him back on the roster. I don't know. This would just be an awesome moment for me personally, but, maybe I'm thinking a little too narrowly here. I'm sure this is going to be much bigger than just Mirio himself. I'm sure that they have bigger plans for Monoma copying Eri's quirk and having a better understanding of it, but, come on. Bring Mirio back, bro. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought about this chapter. Where do you think the Monoma-Eri connection is going? And if you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It starts at $2 and it gives you access to a Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, my guys, and I'll see you in the next one.